Hello, listeners and loyal cocks. Welcome to another exciting episode of Loss of Lieutenant. This is episode 129, the last asterisk episode of N4, the last asterisk tournament of N4. While that title is very funny, it is actually entirely correct, because before we get into anything else, talking about the tournament, talking about news, upcoming anything, we have the most exciting announcement possible. A blurry Discord screenshot of Coney saying that I can confirm that the release date of the N5 rules in the Army update will take place next Monday, the 16th of December. Thank you for your patience in time for Christmas, because he is a cheeky motherfucker.
They said they said they were going to give us warning, and they gave us no warning.
They gave us zero fucking It's like 3 days of warning in total. It's like, congratulations. Good luck, guys. Have fun. For reference for people, that's Monday their time, so it'll probably be closer to Tuesday for a lot of people if you're outside of Europe, basically.
Well, it depends on which side.
Sure.
So, Australia side, yeah, it'll be Tuesday for us. US side, depending, it might even be Sunday night for them.
Yeah, maybe, who knows. But that is the most exciting announcement possible. Tonight I am joined by my two lovely co-hosts, Nick.
Hello.
And Tristan.
Hello. Who
I will now be passing off to for upcoming events and our challenges.
Yes, guys. Lost of Lieutenant Quarterly Challenge N5 edition. N5 wishlist, guys. You've got a day left for this half, so if you really want to send in the last minute predictions, now's the time. Send us your ideas on how you'd improve the game. How would you change guided martial arts or fire teams? Guided has been given another little change as well, which is really spicy. Would you make new skills? Would you make new profiles? How would you make the Thunderbolt? Because it's just whatever you want it to be at this point. And then after Monday or Tuesday for us, you guys got to go down and play some N5, and then you got to send it to us. We want to hear about your first impressions of N5. We want a bat report after a few games, and we'd love to see your lovely terrain pieces of Sand Trap being used in the most creative way possible. Events. We're down to one now, but it's a really important one. You've all heard it before. CanCon 2025 Infinity Nationals over the Australia Day long weekend in Canberra Exhibition Park. 300 points, N5 rules probably confirmed now, eh? With missions, acquisition, unmasking supplies, firefight, and decap. Hoping they all stay in the ITS 16 pack. Tickets are still available to buy.
God, I fucking hope the missions actually do change now that we've got N5.
I might be petitioning the tournament organizer to maybe rethink the mission lineup in a couple days. There's plenty of time to change it, and it's not like people have practiced N5 anyway.
It also depends on when ITS 16.5 drops.
Yeah. I assume at the same time. Would
it technically be ITS 16, where the previous one was like 15.5 more so than 16?
It is 16 right now.
It is, yes, 16 right now, but they've said it will be split into two halves. The first half is N4, the second half is N5.
Yes.
Which I think is partly why ITS 16 is a little bit more conservative on the scenarios and the extra rules.
You know what would have been great is if we had just gotten N5. That would have been nice, instead of doing two half ITS seasons.
Yeah, I think they really wanted to cull O12 Prestige.
Yeah, I think they I do not believe O12 Prestige will be showing up as a actual rule in the game for a very, very long time, if ever. That was not a popular rule.
Yesterday I had 2 of my 3 opponents try to use it.
That's so funny.
To which I had to explain to them, nope, it's ITS 16.
We're not allowed to do that.
16.
But we are not talking about N5 tonight, because there is just not enough to talk about when everything is going to happen on Tuesday. Stay tuned and watch us, though, because we are very, very likely, as soon as N5 drops, there's going to be a lot of stuff coming in the pipeline. And if you want to see that firsthand, you can come over to our Discord over at Loss of Lieutenant. It will be in the description for everywhere where you watch this show or listen to it, provided that Tristan can figure out how to post a working Discord link. If you would like to be here as we record episodes or as we and tell us, you're dumb, you're wrong, hey, stop saying mean things about the faction that I like, you can head over to patreon.com/lossoflieutenant and become one of our lovely cocks and listen to episodes live.
Absolutely. It's only $3 a month, guys. So get in there, give us your money, and we'll give you prizes back.
Exactly. But the topic for tonight is the last asterisk tournament of N4. We got there in the end, which was the Risky Rollers Open, which we've been talking about for several weeks now. Honestly, probably close to like a month or so. And it was meant to be the first tournament for N5, the second tournament of N5 for us, but with every delay that happened, unfortunately, it transitioned into the last tournament of N4, with Tristan hoping and praying like the night before that they were going to drop N5 and he will force everyone to play N5 with like 12 hours of notice.
That would have been amazing.
I would have actually taken a day off work. I would have called in sick and drove down to play.
I might have it might have been cool if N5 was out to just drop round one and everyone just fucks around and tries to make a list and then plays a game or two.
Oh my god, that'd be so funny. That would have been so fucking funny.
But that didn't happen.
No, so instead it transitioned into the custom mission tournament using missions from the new Loss of Lieutenant custom mission pack, which was submitted by the lovely members of our audience.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So Tristan, what missions were people playing this weekend?
Well, I don't know so much as playing as floundering through. I had a printout for every mission on every table, and there were still many questions. So, the first round was Biosample. I forget who submitted it, but it was...
I think that was Sam. I think that was Sam Bino.
Was it Sam's? Okay.
Yep. Was Sam's.
It was the mission where you flip buttons, and each time you flip them, you flip them after the first time, they get a little dangerous.
Which is essentially creating a aura of the Biotech 4 virus. It was an impact template sized, right?
Slightly
2-inch
smaller.
radius.
2-inch radius, sure.
Yeah. Then we had Song of Ice and Firefights, which was almost a weird version of Highly Classified with the Tactical Objectives deck, but you kind of pick your cards at the start and put one down each round.
I have to wonder, like, not having actually gone, I wonder, was this the mission that had, like, the most questions associated with it because it had the most moving parts?
It was probably the one that was easiest to break for me.
Yeah, okay.
There were some problems with it that I didn't really think about until we played it, and then people were like, "Hey, you could just do this." I'm like, "Oh, yeah." It was less so the mission design, more so the tactical objective cards, because I didn't really remember what they were.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, I was right in the custom mission episode talking about how giving players agency in highly classified retrains is not a good thing.
Have a rewrite for it with my suggestions, both myself and the people I talk to, and I think we can get it very close to just being a straight replacement for resilience ops.
Okay, hell
So
yeah.
like resilience ops, but without the setup confusion.
The like full hour of dicking around before you
Yes.
actually play a game of resilience ops.
Yes, I'll get into that once I get to the feedback on it.
Totally.
And then we had
and the
Mega Turret.
Yes.
I was unconscious for Mega Turret, so
and as you can see from the picture next to the slide, one of the locals in Melbourne, Chris Spale, right?
yes.
Printed out a whole bunch of mega turrets for people to take home as part of the event. The photo you see there is my second favorite photo of the mega turrets from the event. There was one of them where it was poking out from the side of a building, and it had the big like ooh woo energy as it's like poking out. It's like, hello, hi, I'm a turret. I was a big fan of that photo. I'll be thinking about that photo for a while, if I'm being honest.
It was good. It was good. I think I woke up to
Mhm.
all the score sheets in my lap. So
It
I guess Nick
sounds
will have to tell me how Mega Turret went.
it sounds like it was like a fun event by all accounts.
That
Like
was
it,
great.
it does seem like
it
a
was
very
great.
good. It seems like a very good way to have sent N4 off into the sunset, doing something interesting, which normally you don't really get to do over like the competitive N4 season, basically, which we've had until now.
Well, this was also a really good way to pressure test these scenarios,
Yeah,
where we could actually put it out there, make people get in positions where they can break them to their heart's content.
which they did
Find
by the sound of it.
Yeah, find out where there's like little clarifications that are needed in there that you might not think about, but if you get 10 people in a room, someone will figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, totally. And Tristan was TOing the weekend. Unfortunately, Josh couldn't be here tonight, and Jacob had a party that he was doing something with. So the only person in here tonight who actually played in the event is our other host, Nick. Nick, do you want to run us through the list that you brought to the event, the army you brought to the event, and why you decided on that?
Okay, so I was going back and forth between either Moritz or Onyx. And I went with Moritz because I couldn't write an Onyx list that I felt I could pilot into Mega Turret. And it was
You're
as
like,
simple as that.
yeah, like Onyx in Mega Turret is like Norkius or bust, like punching the turret to death, basically.
It was actually down to I don't like Onyx doesn't have smoke,
Mm,
and I felt like I needed smoke to have enough attack vectors so that if one failed, I had backups.
yeah, totally.
So first list, I played into with Biosample. Group 1, I had a core with a Kaitok MSV1 Feuerbach, Suryat MSV1 HRL, Dartok, a Vanguard Lieutenant, and a Vanguard Paramedic.
Mhm.
I had 2 drop suit Terriots, which are oh so much fun. Uh, and then I had a Haris, which was a Kaitok HRL, a Kaitok Chain Rifle +2 Burst, and a Rindak FTO Paramedic.
That's a violent little Haris team.
Oh, it is. Uh, Group 2 was an Osnat Vulcan shotgun with 2 Gakis, and then a duo of Dodarazi with chain rifles.
Totally.
The second list made for Mega Turret, and I played this into Song of Ice and Firefights as well.
Yep.
Similar core in Group 1, Kaitok, MSV1, Feuerbach, Suryat, MSV1, Heavy Rocket Launcher, a Vanguard Lieutenant, 2 Vanguard Paramedics, because, look, I've got an extra point, a Raziat with Spitfire,
Yep.
and then a Haris of Anyat, Dartok Hacker, and a Kaitok Chain Rifle +2 Burst.
Yep. I've run that Haris team before. It's super efficient.
It never moved.
Oh.
But that was good. Like it was my backup for a lot of stuff, and
Sure.
like it didn't move until the last 2 orders of my final game.
Yep. Plan A just went too well, apparently.
Yeah. Group 2 was Dr. Worm with 2 slave drones, specifically in there for Mega Turret.
Oh, wait. For what part of Mega Turret? To clear states on the turret?
Repair the Mega Turret.
Oh, you can repair it because it's a tag, right?
You can, because it's structure and it doesn't like you don't get a reroll because it's not remote presence. But I figured it's the best chance I have, and
That's fucking ballsy, man.
He's also he's a good 4th wave backup if I need to get up there with decharges because he's fast enough.
Yeah, true. That is fucking ballsy, though. It's like, oh, we're gonna roll the dice on fixing this turret.
3 little worms slithering towards the turret.
Oh man.
Group 2 had a Haris of Dodarazi with chain rifles.
They can Haris?
Yep. They can core.
What the fuck?
Yeah, most Morat players just don't read that part of the fire team's chart, but yeah, Datarazzi have like a duo Haris core.
I know we weren't going to talk about N5, but where the fuck do we get off having Datarazzi double cores that throw two smokes or whatever bullshit? What is this?
I will, like, after yesterday, I will miss having burst 2 templates in reaction.
Oh,
yeah.
100%.
I feel
And
like
you'll find out about why in my second game.
That's a very sneaky, like, this is a big nerf.
Yeah. Round that out, 2 Yakis that are just free roaming in group 2 as well.
Are they the exploding ones?
They are the
Yes.
exploding ones.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay. Cool.
Did you just really want the second slave drone?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Because my immediate instinct is like to cut one of the slave drones and just upgrade one Gaki to a Predator.
If I'm gonna run Dr. Worm,
You just want all the juices.
well, because in this case, one slave drone is going for the mega turret, and one slave drone is sitting near the Anya Haris.
Okay.
Because the Kaitok there with the Flammenspear is acting as a turn 1 ARO piece.
Yep, totally.
So if he goes down, I can pop him back up, and then he can walk up with his chain rifle.
Totally. That makes sense.
I'm also more familiar with playing Gakis than Predas.
Yeah, like
So
like the Gaki's just having the option of like just berserking from like 12 inches is like, yeah, fuck you, I guess. Like,
yes, that's part of it. Yeah, I think it's just they're easier to fit in when you're learning Morats, and I haven't played them enough to really experiment with Predas.
Yeah, like the free roaming Gaki and Predator is definitely like the step up because you're so used to just having them in like the hungry team.
Yes. Yeah. So, round 1 with biosample.
Yes, sir.
Brief summary, we've got 6 buttons, there's 2 on the center line, and then the other 4 are at the corners of the exclusion zones, so on the board edges.
I don't know if I said this during the episode. I really like the layout of the buttons in this mission. It's different, and I'm like a big fan of that.
Yes. And can get that feedback. That was a really big selling point on this.
Hell yeah.
Well, I did have one person go, why the fuck are the buttons here? This is stupid. I'm sure you can guess who it was. He was only here for the first round.
No, I can't actually guess who that one was.
Kevin?
Yes.
Infinity Dad doesn't like change. What are the buttons here? This is so stupid.
So each of the buttons, go up, activate them for 1 OP. They can be activated by both players at the same time. However, after it's activated, there's a 2-inch bubble of reduced power biotech 4 around it. So kind of a penalty for the one who acts second to go up there and tag it. So 6 points for that. 2 points, 1 for controlling each of the center consoles at the end of the game. 1 point for having more activated consoles, and then 1 classified.
Yep.
So for this one, I played into Dante's O12. Biggest thing of note, he had a deployment strategy in the list building that I was not expecting to have to play into, and it spent most of my first turn trying to take that apart. He had a killer hacker gangbuster, mine layering, a mad trap for both of his side consoles, plus each one had a moonraker with a mine layered mine.
Ooh.
Oh, it was they just set up the minefield.
Correct. Yes. And while there is an exclusion zone, the mad traps get around that.
Yeah.
Because they have an 8-inch activation.
Yep.
Basically, it was a good game. I slowly ground him down, and it ended up with a 9-4 win in my favor.
You played your first list, right?
I played the first list. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you censor with the Rindak on his midfield?
I did not, because I couldn't afford to send the Rindak up first. I ended up on the right side. I sent up the Hungry Haris, and then when they got most of the way there, took one of the Gakis and removed it from the team, so not to break the link, and then just went move, and I set everything off on that side.
I've done that before. The Gaki just runs through the minefield, like, you dodge
Exactly.
with the second half of the order, and you're, like, at the end of it. They survive a weird number of times, too,
Mhm.
where, like, I think the most deployables I've ever triggered with a Gaki was, like, 5, I think.
Oh yeah, 12
And
inches of movement triggers a lot of mines.
yeah, and at the end of it, it just does, like, a little front flip. He's like, "Yay, I'm alive!"
Yeah. On the other side, I sent up the Dodarazi Haris, and similarly, when they got most of the way there, I broke one of them off, and he just ran up. He ended up getting at a point where he was able to walk 4 inches, set them both off, but also drop a chain rifle template on something I don't remember.
Oh.
Yeah, nothing like really stand out. It was just it was a good game, and I slowly attritioned him to the point that I was able to lock stuff down. He did get up on turning objectives on faster than I did.
Yep.
He got both of his turned on his first turn, and he ended up getting one of the middle consoles turned on as well. He also did his classified for 4. By the end, I was able to get 5 of the 6 consoles turned on. The one I couldn't, it was geographically difficult to get to and had models that slowed it down, and I just could not justify spending that many orders to get to the button. In the end, both the 2 center ones, I ended up the one on my right, I'd had the Rindak go in and turn it on and leave. Then the Osnat came up and dodged in to avoid the field because she's got a long enough dodge. On the other side, I had my that was what he had turned on. I brought my core up. One of the paramedics walked in, tagged the button, and just tanked the 50-50 BTS save and succeeded. And so I just left him there and didn't activate anything else.
Yep.
Nice.
So,
How do we feel about the scenario? Like, what feedback were we getting from the players for you, Tristan? And Nick, how did you feel about it actually having played it?
I think it can be directly subbed into an ITS tournament with no issues. It's got familiar mechanics. It has a novel board layout. So it's using the same questions, but asking them in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
The only clarification that came up, and like we kind of know what it was intended for, but again, trying to pressure test the scenario, clarifying how that hazard zone radiates from the consoles. Does it go through walls or does it spread out like smoke?
The
And
vibe would be smoke.
and that's why there's question, because some other players had the exact opposite thought.
Yep.
So we ended up just 50-50ing it, and played it as it came up. And we basically did that right before it became important.
Mm-hmm.
However, going forward, that needs to be clarified in the scenario just so it doesn't come up. But it's a really minor clarification.
Yeah, that's like a super small fix. Like,
Yes.
if that's the most like egregious bit of feedback, that's
Mhm.
says wildly good things about the scenario.
Yes. Yeah. What type of feedback did you get, Tristan?
It was all good. The one game I really watched was just Kevin killing all of Dion's shit. Yeah, which was fucking hilarious.
Good.
Kevin killed a Norkius and another important thing.
Fucking
I think he
serves Dion
killed
right.
Norkius and Sheshkin
And Sheshkin.
before Dion had a turn.
Yes. Yep. And then
Did
the
he just
Caronta
deploy
died
like
to
a
a TR
spud?
bot. I deployed like a donkey. Yeah. Yep. So Kevin didn't really need to play the mission that hard. I think he only pressed 2 or 3 buttons, but yeah, I mean, I didn't hear anything negative realistically, and there wasn't very many rules questions either because, as you say, it's very ITS compatible already.
Yeah, I feel like being as ITS compatible as it is, like I would have been surprised if there was a lot in the way of like I don't understand how this works. Like you read it, you grok it pretty much immediately. Like the only thing that will throw like dinosaurs off their balance is the odd button layout, basically, and otherwise it's all just really regular Infinity. And I guess like remembering the biotech full zone, because I guarantee there would have been at least one person who like hit the button and then forgot that there was there a cloud of poison gas around it.
I don't know if it makes it simpler or if the 2 inches is necessary by design, but maybe just make it a smoke template.
Yeah, make it
I
an
believe
impact template.
2 inches by design because that way most models that dodge 2 inches or walk 4/4 cannot avoid it.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of whatever.
Correct. Yes. I think it would play just fine if you put a blast template down over it.
It's a scenario where like if you wanted to go like the extra yards for a tournament, you would just make objectives that have a blast template glued to the bottom of it, basically.
You could do that, and I don't think it's that much bigger either. It's like an extra
you
half
would,
an inch.
like you wouldn't have to do anything with it either. It would just be like a bit of paper, basically. You wouldn't have to do anything else.
It's just a CD. Like CDs
Yeah,
are
it's
perfect.
literally just a CD.
Yeah.
Like that would be like the only thing for ITS, I guess. Like where it's like, look, hey, this is a really easy way to like map this mission out.
Yeah, and then just clarifying if it goes through buildings. I would maybe playtest it a little bit more because there might be certain scenarios where building placement kind of makes it easier to get to the button, or I don't know. You're still always going to take a template, but
in most places or like layouts, I don't think it really matters.
Yeah, probably
the
not.
reason it came up in our game is because the console was next to a building.
Sure.
And I wanted to approach it from the rooftop of that building.
Yeah.
So if it radiates through walls, then it will cover that rooftop.
Yeah.
If it radiates like smoke, then it hits the wall and goes straight up, and now it doesn't. So
I think the way provided there's no way for you to hit the button without taking a hit from the virus, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
That's the way I vibe it. Pretty much it is so long as you have to interact with the game mechanic, it's fine.
Yeah, regardless of how that comes out, it's not possible to hit the button without going through the field.
Yep.
Perfect.
So if you guys are interested in playing half a game of Supremacy and half a game of what's it called?
Biotech Fall.
No. Starts with A, and I hate
Acquisition?
it. That one.
Yeah.
It supplies an acquisition with a drop of Biotech Fall.
Yeah.
It like honestly, fucking Sam, props to you, man. Like you fucking knocked it out of the park with this one.
Yes.
What a like well designed, well thought out, like just well put together scenario. Like I don't know, you could very easily mistake it for an ITS scenario, which is like the highest praise you can sort of give for that kind of challenge.
Yes. Not just you could mistake it for an ITS scenario, but it is still novel.
Yes.
There's something that differentiates it from the current stock. It's the same vibe as Cryogenics, which is like the highest praise you can give, right? Like Cryogenics, I think is pretty unquestionably one of the best missions of all time that they've had in that document. Like, and it added something very novel with the randomness of like when the guy pops out of the box.
Yeah.
But played perfectly regardless.
Yeah.
So honestly, amazing scenario. Highly recommend it.
Good job, Sam.
All right. A Song of
Round
Ice and
2.
Firefights. Now, I did
Okay.
manage to play this one.
Oh boy.
And immediately, before I even picked my cards, Josh came up to me and went, "Hey, what's to stop us from going first, putting down the how much army points have you got left card, and just immediately scoring 3 points because it scored at the end of the player's turn." And I went, nothing?
So, that is a possibility. I don't think that is as powerful as it looks.
I think
And-
it depends.
Yes, it very much depends because, hang on. Sorry. You still have to kill 75 points worth of your opponent's army for them not to score the same 3 points.
That's not super hard.
Okay. And that means they're likely, the first turn player is likely spending most of their turn to get that 75 points killed. If they don't have the time to work on the other tactical objective, their opponent will score 2 points from the survival tactical objective and has to do at least 1 point on the other one, and now they're tied again.
But they're down at least 75 points of their army because you played Annihilation and your opponent, and you scored 3 objective points off of that, and then your opponent didn't.
You only get 1 objective point per card.
Sorry, 1 objective.
And
Yes.
you get 3 resilience points. But if your opponent gets, let's say, 2 points on each card and they get 4 resilience points, you've lost. But still, it's not.
You're rewarding playing Annihilation in a
there is
tactical
that
mission.
one. There's also I think it's King of the Hill or something like that. There's Hold the Center.
Yep.
And if you're you put down your card after you've deployed. So if you see that your opponent hasn't deployed anything in the center, that's also a free card.
Correct. It probably needs. It's going to be difficult to perfectly balance.
It's a problem with the cards.
I think I have a way around that. It won't. It's not a perfect balance, but it eliminates a fair chunk of it.
Yeah.
So
is it take away the player agency?
It is reducing it, but still making it such that the players feel like they are contributing to the flow of the game.
Okay.
I would just remove it.
Anyhow, Song of Ice and Firefights, it's basically highly classified, except for you use the tactical objectives deck. Each player picks 4 tactical objectives before they select army lists. And then at the start of each turn, or at the start of each round, each player chooses one of them, and those are the 2 tactical objectives to complete that game round.
Yep.
By completing a tactical objective to any extent, scores you 1 OP. So that's a possible 6 over the course of the game. At the end of each round, whoever scores the most resilience points, so basically who scored the most points on the card, who scored which one more, gets an additional objective point. So there's 3 possible. And then there's an operations specialist, which is the typical, I've got a special model, but with some interesting little specialties to it for the scenario. Kill your opponents for 1 OP for the 10th one. I played into Callum's Bakunin. For reference, I picked Guard the Supply Lines, which is control your own objectives. I picked Interrupt the Signal, which is damage the enemy beacons. Triangulate the Signal, which is deploy the beepers. And then Survival, which is VP remaining. On turn 1, Callum went first. He picked Interrupt the Signal, he picked Interrupt the Signal, which is damage beacons, and I countered with Triangulate the Signal, which is putting putting the beepers in the opponent's DZ. Callum played his first turn about as well as you could, given those cards. So he managed to put 2 wounds on one of my beacons, which did involve he had to get his core to a good angle to get to one of them, because I'd picked my side based on which hid the beacons best. And he managed to put 2 wounds on it with a multi-rifle using DA rounds. Unfortunately, using DA rounds for a multi-rifle, he's looking at burst 1, it goes up to burst 2, and I'm saving on something like a 7.
Sure.
Because it still has cover. So he did put 2 wounds onto it, but didn't destroy it. However, he grabbed both of his beacons. One of them he dragged into the back of his deployment zone and then shoved in a corner behind a building and put a guard on it. The other one he grabbed with his core link, and they were up on a building down the stairwell and behind it, and the beacon was in the middle of that core. So he basically made it impossible for me to get to his beacons. But that's how you should play that. It's interactive, you know the opponent's objective, and you can work to counter it. So I brought on my Raziat. Basically looked around like, okay, I've got a spot right here that if I come on, nothing sees me, right? Yes? Awesome. So brought him on, immediately dropped a beeper in his DZ. So there's 2 resilience points. Killed some of his order generators. I managed to get a line to shoot his Chimera in the back from about 20 inches away.
Nice.
And put it in the ground.
Dead Chimera's good Chimera.
Yes. At that point, I'm like, okay, cool. That group's done. And then went over to group 2 and brought the Dodarazi Harris. They basically smoke, move, until one of them got far enough that it could drop its beeper on Callum's side of the table. So there's 3 resilience points. They ended in a position where 2 of them were overlooking most of his core. And the third one was in the process of climbing a tower that would overlook his core.
Yeah.
So, I score 1 OP for completing one of the tactical objectives. He scores 1 OP for 1 tactical objective. I scored the extra one because I scored 3 resilience points to his 2.
Yep.
Started turn 2. I pick survival because I'm now in the lead, and he counters with end domination.
Yep.
Callum notes that I have basically locked him down. Goes for a Hail Mary. He does not get lucky on the Hail Mary and capitulates.
Yep.
Which is fair enough. Basically, the first thing that happened was he tried to activate. He activated his Varangian and berserked into one of my Dodarazi.
Zellenkrieger? He's playing Nomads, wasn't he?
He was playing Bakunin. It could have been a Zellenkrieger. Yes, something that berserked.
Yes.
Okay, I think he was using a Varangian model.
Right, yep, okay.
Okay. And 2 of the Dodarazi arrowed by dropping chain rifles. That hit both. So 4 chain rifles from the 2 that hit both the Zellenkrieger coming in and his Cenobite, one of his Cenobite HRS.
Oh no.
He, in his mind, as we discussed afterwards, had factored in that his Cenobite could tank 2 chain rifles, probably more than likely save one of them, and still survive. He hadn't factored in that it was a Haris. And so his Cenobite was not able to tank 4 chain rifle saves.
Yeah. God, CB, nerf fucking chain rifles and link teams, am I right?
Hey, look!
Yeah. So, yeah, at that point, his other Cenobite, now in a 4-person pure core, tried to engage my ARO pieces. I think he put a wound onto my Kaitak Feuerbach. So he hit the first time, put a wound on it that I saved, so I didn't burn to the ground. He hit the second time, I saved, He did not hit the second time. I hit him twice. And so his Cenobite did not pass 6 explosive saves.
Yep.
At that point, the third Dodarazi had dodged all the way up to the top of the tower and could now look down and see his entire Link team.
Yep. And then that's basically all she wrote.
And that point, it's like, yeah, there's just nothing he can do at that point. He no longer has any ranged weapons that could engage mine. I've got him locked down with more templates than he can tank. And just kind of like, yeah, that's all she wrote.
Yep.
So after that, we both were like, okay, we've got ideas on the scenario. I'd, in my mind throughout the game, gone, okay, this is a problem I see with it. This is how I'd resolve it. And I let him go first, and he basically said exactly what I was thinking. And so that makes me feel
vindicated.
Yeah, like I was thinking the right direction as well.
Yep.
So basically, talking about the game, and the conclusion we came to is the pre-selection needs to change.
Yes.
Because it takes too long, it's complicating things, and there's a lot of tactical objectives in there that aren't that great, and you can just cherry pick around them.
Yep.
And so player agency is a bad thing in your highly classified retrains.
Okay, so our solution to that we want to try is at the start of the game, when you would normally do classifieds before you choose lists, both players draw 5 tactical objectives.
Yep.
And that's what you have for the game. So you only play 3 of them.
Yep.
You have agency in the order you play them and the ones that you don't want to play, which means you still have reactive power to counter your opponent's play.
Yeah, but you're not picking your 5 best objectives.
Yes, you don't get to cherry pick the easiest or best ones.
Hey, look.
Yes, it means that sometimes you will get lucky and draw 4 to 5 amazing ones.
Yep.
And that's just the way it goes. There's no way around that if you want this type of scenario.
No, there's not, unfortunately. That's just it's the same issue that people have been trying to fix with like highly classified for years. It's like, look, unfortunately randomness is just too important a part of the game mechanics. Like, again, we saw it immediately. As soon as you give players agency, they immediately try and break it and make it as easy as possible for themselves, and that doesn't work.
Yeah. So I think this does a few things. Firstly, it finishes up the simplification that A Song of Ice and Firefights is trying to go for over Resilience Ops. So now versus Resilience Ops, you have a fixed deployment, so you don't have to worry about where stuff goes.
Yep.
You don't have to worry about where you deploy it, anything like that. I would probably say in this situation, you need to go back to 3 HVTs.
Oh.
As opposed to 2.
Well, original ResOps has 4.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Okay. Yeah, you might have to go back to 4 HVTs. But that might be just playtesting some. And it might also be just players know to avoid playing Assassination HVT before other HVT cards.
Yeah.
It also improves on Resilience Ops because it eliminates the non-interaction problem of Resilience Ops. Usually when I've played Resilience Ops, it feels like you and your opponent happen to occupy the same table, but that's about it. You're both trying for different things. You don't really know what they are, and there's no push to interact, and it's very difficult to counterplay because you don't know what your opponent's going for.
Yeah.
In this, you know exactly what your opponent's going for. You're going for the same thing. So it's much easier to try and counterplay and force interaction.
Yep, totally.
Because you've drawn your Resilience Ops cards beforehand, you also have some forethought. So if you know you have End Domination, you could wait to play that until turn 2 or 3 and prep for it by moving models into that sort of pattern in an earlier turn. It
So
also adds a nice time pressure that Resilience Ops doesn't have.
yeah. So like, correct me if I'm wrong. Like the
Mhm.
vibe that I'm very much getting here is like
Yeah.
you've just made res ops better, but you haven't made like a good ITS scenario. Is sort of
I think that's where it's going.
yeah, which is
Um,
fine. Like res ops is like a really cool game mode, and it's nice that this seems like a very clean way to make that much less of a time sink than what res ops currently feels like it is.
yes. Well, it makes it what I think ResOps was going for, and that's I show up to the game shop with two random army lists, and we play like a Song of Ice and Firefights because it doesn't require a specific build.
Yep.
And depending on what you draw, you then can pick which army list you think will better fulfill that.
Yep. Totally.
It's
It
just it sounds like ResOps with extra steps. At the very minimum, ResOps needs the set layout, in my opinion. You don't need to have players pick the deployment of their beakers and their stupid consoles and crap.
I think it's not Resilience Ops with extra steps. It's Resilience Ops simplified
Yeah.
for speed and efficiency.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say
Yeah.
simplified. I still think ResOps is simpler than a Song of Ice and Firefights.
The fact that you're like converting points into resilience into then
Okay.
object, like that's
Yeah,
Okay. I'll give you that. Yes, the
there's that.
scoring is not as simple.
The scoring's not simple, but I don't think like you were saying, there's there's less interactivity. That makes it simpler as well. I don't have to think about what cards my opponent's going to put down, or what um
Mhm.
my opponent actually
Okay.
doing the card that I'm putting down. I just
like
have
yeah,
three cards in my hand, and I go, I need to do these. Fuck my opponent.
yeah, like you may
Okay.
not know what your opponent has, but like you just like there's no wrong answer in just playing annihilation.
True.
Like your opponent's trying to do three cards, and you're like, what if I just like kick you in the head a bunch of times? Is that going to make it more difficult for you to win the game?
Okay.
It's not necessarily a better mission at all. But song definitely gets you to think about stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll revise that. It's has a simpler setup, and you can get into it faster.
Yeah.
You can get playing faster than Resilience Ops, and it is more tactically interactive
Absolutely.
than Resilience Ops.
Yeah, 100%.
So like you get into it faster, and it's a better, deeper game
Yeah.
than Resilience Ops.
Yeah.
So it does have the advantage that like it is written up as an ITS scenario, which means you could put it into an ITS tournament if you wanted. I think you are correct. It is not. It may not be balanced enough for that,
It's
but I
again
think it's still a good one to have available for casual play.
yeah, the problem, it's the same as it always is, unfortunately, when you like hand people like a highly classified retrain and the
Yeah.
first thing you change is letting people pick parts of the classified. It
Mhm.
just doesn't work because people will just try and like goblin it as hard as they
Yeah.
can to try
Yeah.
and like make things as easy as possible for themselves.
Mhm.
Like countermeasures works because it's flipping random ones off the top of the deck.
Yeah.
And then continuing to flip more of them. Highly classified works because it is 4 random classifieds and then your personal one.
Yeah.
It's just the whole thing falls apart as soon as any of those start being picked by players, unfortunately. And
Yeah.
I am just sort of genuinely yet to see like a highly classified
Mhm.
retrain other than countermeasures
Mhm.
which works.
Yeah. I think this my solution of draw 5 and then play 3
Yes,
is
I
a
like
good
that.
balance where it
Yes.
gives you a random limited set of resources, but you can choose what you do with those.
Yeah, so long as players aren't picking ones that are getting put into the pile, that's
Yeah.
perfect. That's all that
Yeah.
it needs to be.
Yeah, because when I discussed it with my opponent, we picked very similar ones, and we both came in with the same idea of like I looked at the deck and I immediately removed half of them
Mm.
because I looked at it and was like, I don't want to touch that. That's too difficult, or it's just too annoying. And then I was left with these are ones that I like are good, and then these are ones that are excellent, and I think I can counterplay my opponent on.
Yep, totally.
I don't
So-
think the ResOps deck is inherently balanced enough
No,
to have an ITS
No.
mission around them.
the ResOps deck, in my opinion, needs to be doubled in size.
Yeah, there's only 12, so I think there's only 12 cards. There's not many.
I think there's more than that, but since like there's only one card that has beepers,
Yeah.
Yeah.
there need to be cards that are each card needs a variant of itself.
Sure. Yeah. Again, it's
Mhm.
like I like that you've sort of found a place for it of like a
Mhm.
modified version of ResOps that
Yes.
flows better. I like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, it's just you fall into like the trap with the highly classified retrain.
Yeah.
It happens. Like I think it's cool that you find like a more easy sort of ResOps setup, basically, which is
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
Tristan, did you get much feedback about Song of Ice and Firefights?
My experience was I went first,
Yeah.
and the way the mission's written, you score at the end of your turn, not at the end of the round. So it was easy for me to, like, let's say, throw smoke and run a dude onto an enemy console, or an enemy beacon, and I went, like, you can't stop this anymore. You don't have a turn to reply. There's very little your opponent can do to reply aside from just throw arrows.
Mhm.
It sounds like you're less trying to stop your opponent from scoring than you are trying to outscore your opponent.
Yes.
But there are some situations where you won't be able to do that.
Yeah.
If your opponent scores max, then you go, I have to score max,
Mhm.
or I'm going to lose points. And in that scenario, that might turn out to you being behind, even though you had the opportunity to kill some stuff. Or
I think part of that might be countered by the difficulty in scoring all 6 resilience points.
yeah, it does depend on what cards you get. We had 2 cards where it's like touch a thing in your opponent's DZ and do a whip check on it, and then touch a beacon. And I can spend 10 orders on a Boktar and do it. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
And my opponent, like, I had a whole other group just to throw smoke for the Boktar. So there wasn't much my opponent could do, and I lock in those points at the end of round 3, and the Boktar's still there in the DZ being a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
My opponent went, the only thing I can do is grab Morat Lieutenant Boy and just throw him forward. And he was just taking ghoul-arm shot after ghoul-arm shot, and eventually he died.
Yeah.
So I'm not 100% on just some of the cards feel like they don't play fair with scoring at the end of the turn. Like even the zone domination ones, if you're going first, you can get those zone dominations very easily and set up AROs for your opponent to not be able to do it very easy.
Yes.
Um,
one thing with going first, there's apologies. There is minor counterplay to that, and I went second, and it didn't click until after my opponent played his card.
Yeah.
That I was going like, oh, I could play, except if I play this card, he can score it easily as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have to pick one that I think he will have difficulty doing.
Yeah.
And that's why I played the beepers. Because if he wants to go up and get into my my side to shoot my beacons, he's going to have difficulty getting enough orders to also plant beepers. Whereas I have a parachutist DZ, I know I can plant beepers more easily. I don't think it's perfectly balanced. I think it's balanced enough for casual play.
Yes.
Yep. Totally.
The other thing is, I think Nick is 100% correct in just randomly drawing the cards. Because when I went down to pick my cards, I went, am I going first or am I going second? Oh shit, I don't know. How do I pick my cards? Because there's some cards that are really good going first, there's some cards that are really good going second.
Yeah.
I think legitimately the answer there is to just pick the best ones, regardless. Even like you just pick like 3 and 2, basically.
Well, I sat there and went, if I go first, the middle zone domination ones are really good because I'm against Morats and they don't really infiltrate anything. I'll just
You
do
mean
that.
don't ever?
Don't ever, unless you've got, spicy Zerat. But yeah.
Which you just kill because it isn't under a fucking marker.
Yeah. Yeah. It was fun
Are
though.
you fucking try and Val me?
It was good. It was a good game. It would be a casual thing, but I feel like I would just, if I was going to play casual mission, I feel like I'd just take res ops, have the set objectives,
Deployment.
and just play res ops.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sure.
Because that's more casual for me. We can shit talk and stuff. I'm not thinking about how to counter my opponent's cards. I'm not thinking about what card do I put down this turn. It would flow simpler for me. I think once you played 10 games of this, it would get quicker. But I feel like some players in our community might stare at the card going, "What the fuck do I put down?"
That's fair.
And they put it down. They go, "Oh shit, bro! I put down the wrong card."
You are allowed to just say Kevin. It's fine. No one's gonna blame you.
I wasn't thinking of Kevin. That's all right.
I was absolutely thinking of Kevin. I've never met a man who gets more decision paralysis than Kevin.
I loved. So I was just shit talking with Dion while Kevin was doing his little crouch across the table, which is really funny because the gaming arena tables are slightly higher, so he doesn't really need to crouch. It's just like a half.
He just leans.
It's like a
bit.
dad bend.
Yeah,
it's great.
Does he make like the dad noises or the
So I was watching him try to activate his Riot Girl, and I think if we turned it into a manuscript, it'd be about 3 pages of him umming and ahhing with just different lines before he decided. Yeah, it was like a chess tournament, a guy about to pick up his piece, and he didn't. And it was.
I think my favorite version of that is still Dante and Kev. When after I think Kev like word vumbled around for like 5 minutes, and Dante in the most polite voice just went, "Kevin, this is getting tedious."
It's such a Dante thing to say.
It's even more disrespectful than Dante's accent as well.
It would be nice, quiet, and polite.
Yeah.
All right, Nick.
All right, main event.
You said this has some hidden depth, so I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
Yes. So, final one was Mega Turret.
Yeah.
Kind of like looting sabotage, but you've got a beefed up security defense system that will shoot across the board. There's 2 consoles in the middle of the table. If you activate them, you subtract 2 points each from your opponent's Mega Turret's armor. So, and that's modifying the base so it applies before AP.
Yep.
Yeah.
Those get flipped back and forth. Your opponent goes up there, pushes the button. It now turns off for you, and it's now a penalty on you instead of them.
Yep.
The Mega Turret has to be deployed during your own deployment phase, and it has to touch your deployment zone edge.
Yep.
It can be on either side. It just has to touch it. And I think that is a really critical part about what makes the mission good.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
For points, each Mega Turret has 4 structure. At the end of the game, you get 1 point for 1 OP for every structure your Mega Turret has left. You get 1 OP for every structure your opponent's Mega Turret has lost. And then there's 2 classifieds. So I played into Hector, who had LF Super Friends. It was basically all characters, plus 3 net rods and a set of posthumans.
Yep, that'll do it.
Yep. So game starts off pretty good because Hector goes to over infiltrate and fails the roll.
Oh yeah.
So that's it. Okay. So turn 1, he does exactly what he needs to do, and he dissects my arrows. So by the end of his turn 1, both my Kaitoks are unconscious, and my Suryat is dead. However, he
Okay.
doesn't have any orders to do anything but that.
Yep.
Yeah, that is unfortunately the downside of playing the old Super Friends.
Yeah. So my turn one, Raziet comes on, kills 2 of his net rods and one of his bikes. I think it starts with a P.
Penthesilea.
Yep, that one. Didn't
He had
really
bike-
come up
he had-
much
he had-
because I shot her in the back, and
he
then
had-
she was
he had
gone.
multiple
And
bikes?
yeah.
He had multiple bikes?
Oh, sorry. The other, not multiple bikes. The other one was what's your name on the 55 bill?
Like a motorized bounty hunter or
No,
Ajax?
the infiltrator.
Andromeda.
Andromeda,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry. He was using a bike base for Andromeda because he didn't have the
Real model.
he didn't have the model with him.
Hector, what the fuck, man? Disappointing.
After that, the Raziet then got up, smokes, and manages to get in base with the turret, decharges it, and gets 2 wounds on it, but that's the last order I have to use on it. His turn 2, he manages to get Ajax into my mega turret and puts 2 wounds on it. He does take 1 wound from chain rifles on the way in.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, he needed to dodge out of the objective room that was on the side before he could berserk into my mega turret. And he failed the first 2 attempts at it.
Oh no.
So he did get Ajax in, but he only had 1 attack on the mega turret. It put 2 wounds on it, which I think is about average.
Yeah.
We talked afterwards. Without critting, he
It's actually
needed
better than average.
He needed to hit it twice.
Yeah, it's actually better than average. 100%.
My turn 2, I end up weird, complicated. Like I break my Dodarazi links so they can get their impetuous, and then some other stuff. Reform them into a duo because one of them dies, and then the duo berserks Ajax and kills him.
Dodarazi are fucked.
Dodarazi, very good.
Dr. Worm then gets one of his slave bots up and fully repairs my mega turret.
That's so fucking ballsy, man. Like,
so it had 2 structure left, and it repairs on a 14. So I'm like, you know what?
That's so no, that is so ballsy. Like you can't re-roll it, man. That is fucking ballsy to try that one. Like it's not quite the level of like a Pano player trying it with a machinist. Like that's when you're like,
oh yeah,
you got like that's when they're like hanging down and dragging on the floor.
You know what's real ballsy? The Gizmo kit phys equals 8.
Yeah, 100%. Like,
oh yeah, yeah.
Oh my god, that's.
I discussed the Gizmo kit adding that or playing around with that with the author when they just did it, and the goal was like Gizmo kit 8. So you can tempt them to do it, but they really, really shouldn't.
Yeah,
like
100%.
It's going like you can if you really want to.
Well, it's just a Hail. It's just a Hail Mary enabler, which is good.
Yeah.
How did the game finish up, Nick?
So after that, the Dartok, after managed to land a pitcher within 6 inches of Achilles.
Yep.
Isolated him. He saved. I isolated him again. Went through on my last order.
Yep.
So he starts turn 3 with something like 4 models, and in lost lieutenant.
Yeah.
So he basically goes for what little Hail Mary he can. None of his models are really in a position that they can get a line on my turret except for Achilles. So Achilles pops out, tries to put something in my turret. We both crit. And at that point, neither of us can get anywhere near the opponent's HVTs. Both of my classifieds require his HVT.
Yep.
And we call it at that. So ends up being a 6-2 win in my favor.
Nice. All right. How do we feel about Mega Turret, Nick?
Okay, so guys, wow. So it was not just fun, but it was more tactical than I expected.
Yep.
Specifically in the placement of the mega turret. You can't the mega turret is good, but it can be overpowered.
Yeah.
So it's how do I deploy the turret in a way to make it both defensible and still able to be offensive?
Yeah.
So he deployed his elevated and between two bricks where it was poking out so it could see down, but that limited the ability to get to it.
Yeah.
That's why it took so many orders to get my Raziat into it, because I had to go upstairs around and dodge it and smoke to get there.
Yep.
I deployed mine very far to one side, because at that point he had 9 models on the table. It's like, okay, and 1 in reserve. But I deployed it in a way that it had some narrow but longer fire lanes. It could see the main approaches to it at a longer distance, but it was covered from a lot of the good sniper spots.
Mm.
I also deployed it in a way, and this is where the it has to touch your DZ line, but doesn't have to be in your DZ. That flexibility. So I deployed in a spot that made it awkward to get more than one model into silhouette contact with it.
Yep, that's good.
It also meant that similar with his, Ajax couldn't come just straight in. Ajax to come in and just kind of around a little bit, and that just adds another 2 inches to it. I also positioned it such that if you did come in to engage it, I've got a Gaki who is prone on the stairs near it that will dodge and engage you. So if you do get in, you get 1 free swing. Now you have a Gaki in combat. You have to now waste orders on the Gaki, in which case the Mega Turret, who knows, has a Paris UC. It might stun you. Or do you ignore the Gaki and go after the Mega Turret? But the Gaki, if left unchecked, is just going to make you make damage 14 AP damage rolls.
Damage 14 AP berserks. They can't.
It's not great, but it's not something you just want to let sit there.
No. Any feedback in terms of stuff that needs to be fixed about it?
I think there's a lot of little situations because the mega turret is in a weird nebulous zone where it's not quite defined what it is. And I think it's best to keep it as equipment, which would mean that you can be in silhouette contact with it, you can melee it, but you can't sit in the engaged state with it.
Right.
That was one thing that came up, and we had to discuss that. And to his credit, Hector made a successful argument for why that is the correct way based on how it's worded. And I agreed and played it that way. I think that's the correct way.
Because it's not a model at the end of the day. As much as we call it a tag, it's a turret. It's a big gun.
Yes. But then you also have to make sure that, it is not able to be hit by a deactivator. And that was one of the things I wanted to make sure you could not get a workaround on. Because normally you can target a deployable turret or a crazy creature with a deactivator and just remove them.
Yeah.
These clarifications I don't think I can really define well because it's currently N4 and in about 48 hours it'll be N5.
Yep, totally.
So I think it needs to be looked at once we get N5 out.
And we know the lay of the land.
Yeah, figure out how it fits into model and object interactions in N5.
Totally.
I think it's a really good scenario. It is a little bit out there as far as, yes, you've basically got like a free tag.
I have
Uh,
if looting and sabotaging was
Mhm.
allowed to be a bad scenario for as long as it was allowed to be a bad scenario,
Yes.
if Power Pack was allowed to have the most fucked deployments you've ever seen in your life,
Mhm.
Big Turret is not that much out there.
Yes, like it's not an everyday scenario, but I think it's a good, like, fun but still competitive scenario to just throw in there to break things up.
Yeah. If Mega Turret was in the ITS document,
Mhm.
like, it would appear more than looting and sabotaging and Power Pack, and Biotech 4 probably, bar none.
Yes, yeah, like is it the best scenario? No. Is it a really fun scenario that's competitive and has multiple approaches? Yes.
I think it would be, if you put it into an ITS document with, like, those sort of, it would be the best of those weird niche missions, not close.
Yeah, that's a good assessment. Yeah.
I
Like,
think it needs a little work.
Mhm.
100%. It absolutely,
Uh,
there's absolutely futzing that needs to be done with it.
One thing that came up in our discussion afterwards, uh, and we kind of came to the same conclusion, it just needs to be play tested more to figure it out.
Yep.
Is it better to deploy the turret during your deployment phase or before deployment phase? I think it's better to deploy it during deployment because then it offers a bonus to going second. However, it's a really close call, and I think the data pool isn't deep enough to figure out which way it falls.
Well,
Yes.
I think it kind of 100% needs to be during deployment because if you're playing against Josh, which is
Mhm,
what happened,
mhm.
and you have to put it down before he puts his Shinobu down, you're fucked.
Wait, was I right that he actually played
Yeah,
JS? Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Fuck, I love that, man.
any Oban player can
Mhm.
pretty much guarantee kill the turret,
Yeah.
and it's not
Uh,
even hard.
that is one thing that I think needs to be discussed. I saw it when I like kind of flexed up the scenario and changed it a little bit for the tournament. Um, I didn't. I was considering giving it immunity state equals dead.
Yeah,
So meaning that you have to actually do 4 wounds to it. If you hit it with a monofilament or you hit it with a um,
Vorpal.
Vorpal, like it still ignores its armor,
Yeah,
but it'll only do 1 wound to it.
That's a very neat fix. That would work fine.
I decided to run it without that because I needed to see how that would be played.
Yeah, if that would be a problem.
And I think it is enough of a problem that it probably should be in there.
Well, I think that I think I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was Hugh and Dante
Mhm,
suicided their turrets on the first turn
mhm.
and then played 2 turns of somewhat classified.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
yes.
I would be curious to know what their deployments were for those turrets.
You saw
mm,
you saw Hughes on the bridge.
Yeah, and it looks like they deployed theirs in a very offensive manner.
Yes.
Um, and I think that's a bad move.
mm,
It should not be an AR, like a go-to ARO piece.
no.
It is a model, or it's not a model. It is an item that can defend itself, but it shouldn't be your ARO strategy.
Not because, no, we're not when it can be smoke shot.
Correct.
Yeah.
Uh, it means you have to be more careful with how you approach it. But if your opponent leaves it out, you're right. It just will get
It just dies.
smoked
Like,
or just overpowered. One thing, if you leave it out in the open, um, if your opponent is playing like assassins and brings 4 Daylami with Panzerfausts,
Just coordinate shoot it.
you
yeah.
coordinate order 4 Panzerfaust shots into it, it can only arrow one of them. There's 3 free Panzer shots. Probably 2 of them will hit. There's 6 armor saves.
And then you spend another command token, and you
And
coordinate
do it again.
with three Dale Army this time.
Yes, yeah. And
Yeah,
at that
that's-
point, it really doesn't matter if you've reduced its armor.
No, it doesn't matter in the fucking slightest.
So it does have a learning curve about how vulnerable the turret actually is.
Mhm.
What about you, Tristan? What feedback were you getting over the course of Mega Turret when you roused yourself from slumber?
Well, people just tell me to wake the fuck up. You got to give out prizes.
True. Get up, skank.
I think that there should be more to do with the consoles. Pressing a console to reduce 2 armor isn't really a big deal. Maybe tie some objective points up in pressing buttons.
What if pressing the button reduced both the armor and the ballistic skill?
You absolutely could just make it more of a nerf, so that maybe if you press it, if you lose your guns, you try and put it more on equal footing with shooting with your secondary guns or something.
There needs to be some number of points actually tied up in something other than the turret and classifieds.
Yep, that's fair.
Yeah, depending on what classifieds you get, it could be a really easy game. Like if Josh could get 10 points, theoretically 10 points in the first turn quite easily if he gets like net undermine and spotlight or something. And then Shinobu's the turret, and all he has to do is defend his turret for 3 turns.
Like I don't like when there are game pieces on the board that don't affect the score at the end of the game. Like the consoles don't do anything. It's a bit like a little bit like one of the problems I had with B-Pong, where like the console in the middle doesn't matter. It just moves the box. There's nothing for like doing things with it at like the end of the game or anything, or controlling it or anything like that. This is that, but even worse, because like the consoles, they reduce arm up, and there's no objective points tied up in it. So again, if the turret dies, you're then just sort of playing this like weird game of like get 2 classifieds and kill your opponent's models.
Yeah. Well, like for us, we only engaged, like we both went after our opponent's turret in melee.
Yeah.
And with AP weapons. So in doing so, we were in a situation where Ajax is just
He's explosive. He's explosive.
Okay. Yeah. So he was just trying to overwhelm. But at that point, you don't have cover. And if you bring AP, it's down to 4 armor. Like that's something that you can just push through.
I think something that to remember there though is that you have spent, most of an order pool getting to the turret.
Yes.
Whereas if you are playing, for instance, Morats, right? So if you're playing a different Morat list, instead of spending an entire order pool getting to the turret, you spend 1 group 2 order to throw smoke, and then you spend 4 or 5 orders shooting it with a Yargat.
Yep. The reason that didn't work is because we both came with that idea, and our pieces were our main guns were preventing the other person from shooting at the other person's turret.
Yeah, well, I mean, you don't have the Yargat sort of standing up or anything. Like, it's a going first thing.
Yeah.
Like, because you weren't playing it in your list, right? So it's just like,
correct. Yeah.
If you have the Yargat and you're going first, like if you're going second, he's fucking hot. He's screaming in a ball on top of a roof, praying to God that no one looks at him.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's where the difference comes in, where it's like, look, if you spend an entire order pool getting to the turret, you'll have better odds to hit it and deal damage in those 2 orders you get to punch it with.
Yeah.
Or you drop smoke and you just spend like 5 orders shooting it, and you're going to kill it almost certainly.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so a Yargat does 0.7 wounds per order and has about a 50% chance to do 1 wound per order.
Yeah. Thank you, Tristan.
That's all right. It does have a 20% chance to kill you back, though.
Yeah, well, the
Yeah.
Yowgat, or like you do it with the Surgat, because it can only shoot back, so because of Sixth Sense, you're going to be on 16s regardless.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons that I also brought Angat,
K1?
because like that was like my third tier backup
Yeah,
was
totally.
use her smoke to get her close enough to it, get within 8 inches of it, be still hopefully be in a Haris, and then use a burst for K1 combi at under 8 inches from it, and hope it doesn't crit on 4 dice or on 5 dice.
Yeah, that's when
Mhm.
you're asking to be crit, unfortunately.
It's a
But
neat.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a neat scenario. It's a really neat
Yeah.
scenario. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think it's a really, really cool scenario. I think there's a
Mhm.
lot going on in that scenario.
Mhm.
I think that once N5 drops, there's some work to be done
Yeah.
on it, but I think undoubtedly with like 10 minutes of work once N5 comes out and we know what the new ITS document
Mhm.
looks like, it becomes the best of like the niche missions that are played in like a quarter of tournaments.
Yeah. Oh no, like I went into this thinking like it's just a meme scenario type of thing. Like it is a amazing, like over the top. It's going to be fun to play, but then it's going to go on the wayside. But no,
There are legs
there
there,
is meat in here. There is depth in here.
100%.
Yes. Like I said, I think it needs some cleanup to make it an N5 scenario. And yeah.
I'm a believer in Mega Turret. I think the points need to
Hmm.
be redistributed for scoring.
Yep.
And I think again, turrets need stuff with the turret needs to be cleaned up.
Hmm.
And that's about it. I think once you sort of get that stuff locked down, you have like I think the best of the like spicy scenarios, basically that like masochistic, sadistic TOs
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
put into tournaments, and they're like, you guys are gonna play Power Pack, and you're
You're
gonna
gonna
fucking
fucking like
like
it.
it. Like it becomes the best of those scenarios.
Yeah.
Or it becomes like the best of like decap annihilation type
Hmm.
scenarios where
Yeah.
like it's just big stick, like it's big stick scenario. I love
Yeah.
big stick scenario. Like
Wow.
yeah, I mean the other thing you could do as
Yeah.
well is if you want to tie some points up in the consoles, you do the idea that we had where every time you hit the button, the first time you hit the button, it gets to roll on the
Oh,
booty
panoply.
chart,
Yeah.
so you can give it Mim 6 and
Oh.
MSV.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh,
Why
actually,
not?
yeah, that would really push people to get there because yeah, the like in my game, we didn't even think twice about the consoles.
Yeah. Again,
And
there's
they weren't even in bad places.
no, it's the thing that I hate most with missions
Hmm.
is where you have game pieces that do not serve a purpose for scoring or for actually
Hmm.
affecting the mission in a
Yeah.
really dramatic way.
Hmm. Yeah, the panoplies option. You could also make it like affect its BTS.
Yep.
Um, I think it should affect armor and BTS just straight up.
Just naturally, yeah.
And then give them because
Is it BTS 9 or BTS 6?
it's BTS 6,
You
but
maybe BTS 9.
yeah, I think you bump it up to BTS. I know you're gonna hate it for it. I think you could bump it up to BTS 8 just because it's
Fuck
armor
off!
8 BTS
No,
8.
fuck off! No! That's not how BTS
Oh,
works. It goes up in threes.
and then
369.
make it subtract 2 from both of them.
Mm.
No, BTS
Uh,
goes up in threes and it goes down in three.
No. So what you do is you make
I
it.
know where you live.
You make it armor 9 and BTS 9 and make it reduce it by 3.
yeah, okay, that would also work. Yeah, because once you hit BTS 9 or armor 9, like you really want to get one of those buttons pushed before you start dealing with it.
Well, armor 9 is like we're getting close to being a Yodam here.
Yep.
That's fine.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
fine.
No, I like that as well.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I think out of the three scenarios, from what I am vibing, from what you
Yep.
guys are telling me, it sounds like Biosample fits the most easy into an ITS document.
Yes.
Song of Ice and Firefight is a neat retrain of the Resilience Ops game mode, not
Yep.
necessarily a great ITS scenario.
Mhm.
And Mega Turret, for my money, is now the best version of the spicy ITS missions.
Yeah, so we need to feed this to Ivory and see
Mhm.
if they can palate it.
Mhm.
No, because Ivory will just make it a cutter. Like,
Yeah. One
to make
one
it.
one final little happy story. Dion tried to speculate Jacob's turret, and it was 25 versus 5 5s, and Jacob crit twice.
That's how that. That's why you don't. That's why you don't fight a TR bot unless you can neg 12 it. Because they have a 10% chance. Yeah, like they have like the 10% chance to crit on 5 dice. Like,
Yeah. Yes, that was funny.
couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
Which so happens to mean that Jacob came third.
Wow.
And then Josh came second.
And Nick came first.
And Nick came first. So
look at that loss of lieutenant sweep right there.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So this puts me at a weird place of I am now 2 for 2, winning the last tournament of N4. Because we had the last tournament of N4, and I won it. And then the date got moved back, and we had the last tournament of N4, and I got that too. So
hell
yeah.
I guess do something a little different for final thoughts today, maybe, because we've got that 48 hours.
Yeah.
What's your final prediction for N5? Give me, something you want to see. Give me something you want to see. Give me something that you want to see changed. Tell me a profile that you're excited to see updated. Anything.
Okay. I'll let Tristan think. The profile that I am most excited to see is the Zeodron.
Okay.
Because it was one of those, I hadn't thought about it much, and then I looked at it randomly a couple nights ago, and it finally clicked, what a lot of its skills transfer to in N5. So it's got bioimmunity. Bioimmunity is basically becoming immunity armor. It's also got super jump, which is going up. It's currently just cresting 50 points. So I'm guessing that we might see it in the mid to high 40s.
No.
Unless they give it more the Seraph and bump it up a little bit.
It'll get the Seraph treatment.
Yeah.
No, the Seraph didn't go up. One profile went up by
the Seraph got more
point.
equipment to justify its cost.
Yeah,
it won't cost more, it'll get more stuff.
So yeah, either it's going to get a few more bells and whistles to keep in that low 50s,
or it's gonna go down,
or it's gonna get into the high 40s, and it can Harris with itself. So, and it's AVA 4, so I think I'm looking forward to that becoming possible in an Onyx list. Matching that, the Overdrawn.
Yep.
Because it has... Oh, it's not just got Albedo, it's got Tinbot Albedo, which opens up some weird stuff. Barring that, it's now gone from a weird niche piece that loses its ability to do what it's supposed to do very quickly to an MSV ARO piece hunter.
Yeah, I think the other thing to think about there as well is that with the average ballistic skill coming down by 1 to 2 points, BS13 is probably starting to look a lot better in N5.
Yes, BS13 in N5 looks like it will be able to fight core links. It'll be a competition, but it will be viable.
Yeah, if we take Fusiliers, the Fusilier core is the BS baseline for the game of Infinity, it's coming down from 15 to 13. That's a drastic drop. And 13 I feel is gonna be a much better sweet spot for the level you are shooting at.
Yes. Yeah, actually that's a good point. That makes it stops almost the BS creep.
Yeah, 100%.
Where you've reset now what your normal range of ballistic skill is. And right now, like a tag with BS13 is not bad. It's just not the best.
Yep. Tristan?
I don't think we are going to see 5-man links that aren't pure.
Okay.
Like, barely fucking at all. Even a Blair, if it doesn't have 6th sense, is kind of shit.
It's got combat instinct.
Well, then no, it has combat instinct, so it ignores
Yeah.
surprise attack, but it doesn't ignore getting shot through like fucking white noise or whatever.
How much white noise is there in the game?
There could be a fuckload more soon.
Oh. Yes. Well, with
there's
for starters,
albedo as well, so
there's albedo, and from what we've seen of the charts, even not knowing profiles, I'm trying to remember which one. Laxaby ends up in, I think it's QK.
and
So
she ends up in White Company.
yeah, so that's Mercenary HD plus.
Yeah, but that's like that's a fucking NA2 army and QK. The 5 people that play those factions
fair. Yes,
are going to be
that is
so
a fair one.
Maybe, yeah.
But I'd be curious to see if we'll get
very...
more of that. Yeah, because we really don't know how hacking's going, other than we know they are doing some changes like what we've seen to Spotlight so far.
For reference, for anyone who hasn't seen that, if you go to the Infinity app right now, if you swap it to Code 1, you'll see that they've seemingly started to import some changes for N5 through that, maybe suggesting like the Code 1 section is going to become the N5 section of the app. We're not sure yet. One of those is that the hacking programs, Spotlight is now a PS5 AP Burst 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Is it possible? Is that just replacing it's a placeholder for Oblivion? Because that's Oblivion stats, isn't it?
No. I hope not, because I really like that change to Spotlight.
Are we sure? Are we sure it's not just the because that is like the Oblivion.
It's 1 damage off Oblivion. But yeah, it is basically Oblivion.
Is that accounting for the fact that it's now meat to beat instead of exceed to beat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oblivion's PS4.
Oh, okay, sure. I like that. I look, if that is the potential change to Spotlight, I'm a fan of that. I like the idea of, again, I think Ivory actually mapped it out that it is as successful, if not better, now with the save attached to it than it was before.
It depends on the beats, yes.
Depends on the BTS, and it's adding layers of it's adding like failure points to more failure points to guided, which is a good thing.
Well, not just adding failure points, it's adding interactivity with your opponent.
Yes.
It's not just I spotlight you, done.
Yep.
They can reset, they can save against it. It feels like there's something that they're doing where it's not just a gimme.
Yeah, 100%.
I also really like the burst too.
Give it a
because it now gives a reason to use it in active turn.
Yep.
Because at burst 1, you're like, or I'll just put a picture out there, or run up a flash bot, so that when my opponent activates, I get free spotlights on him.
Totally.
But now, in active, if it's burst 2, there's reason to do that over an arrow.
Yeah. Again, we don't know if that is actually what Spotlight is going to be. I'm of the opinion it very might just be the placeholder for Oblivion, because the Code 1 section of the app doesn't have Oblivion. It only has Spotlight and Carbonite, weirdly enough. That's where I am personally leaning more towards, but who knows? I guess for me, a prediction I'll make is that I think more app players are going to be playing the Raichu and the Bull Track far more than they were in N4. I think those are going to become very commonly taken in N5. A profile I am very excited to see is the Cutter. I think I'm really curious to see what direction that thing is going to go trend in.
By that same token, the Avatar.
The Avatar I couldn't really care less about. It's going to always be the most expensive tag in the game.
Yeah, it's still a MIM6 BS15 tag though.
Like, it has to come down. How many points did it go up? Did it go up like 12 points or whatever?
9.
Yeah, it would have to come back down from that, basically.
You reckon?
We can expect that it will probably come down a little bit.
I hope not.
I don't know. It's the collection of skills on that profile make it very hard for me to imagine that it's going to come down many points.
Here's my prediction.
I don't think many, but yeah.
We are going to be entering the era of tags.
Oh, and
Absolutely.
Barring some like wild profile changes, N5 is going to be like, what is your tag and what is the best way for you to exploit your opponent's tags?
Yep.
I'll follow it up that I think we'll also see more pure heavy infantry links outside of the heavy infantry sectorals.
Totally.
100%. Even if it's just duos.
Yep.
I think that Kestrel's defensive utility is going to outstrip their Alpha Strike utility, and I think their defensive utility is currently being a bit overlooked outside of... For show and tell today, I have brought my core linked Blair.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Kestrel's kind of scaring me because they seem, in terms of firepower, they're very typical Pano, but it seems like in terms of just fighting, they're good at everything. They might not be as good as some other factions with like super mobile specialists or that kind of thing, but it seems like Kestrel just does a lot of things really, really, really well.
They do.
They seem to be very shiny on the top, but have a lot of depth. And I think you're right. It's going to take a little while for people to see that depth after they get over the shininess.
The spoiling of Jackals and Magistrates has honestly changed my perception of the entire faction. That those profiles are absolutely insane. Like, they're so good.
I was also really excited to see the Fire Team Master skill.
Yes.
Because
oh my god.
Well,
yes.
It solves an issue of having important rules that are nested inside the Fire Team chart.
Yeah, that aren't universal either, because not all those fire teams work the same. So I believe the Bakunin one for the what's he called?
Morlocks and Taskmaster.
Morlock and Taskmaster, the Hungry Haris. Those, and is there another one other than the
monks?
No, that works differently. I mean, that's what I'm getting to. So the Taskmaster Morlock and the Hungry one work the same, where if the one leading it dies, they drop out and become regular again, and they are required to form the link. For some reason, the Liang Kai Jing Kuo one doesn't fucking matter.
So he has to be there to form it, but then afterwards they can still be a team?
I actually don't think he has to be there to form it.
Okay.
I think they are a requirement.
There's some wacky shit that goes on because you can you can put a Shang-Chi in there.
Yeah. Because I think Jinko is a wild card.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, Shaolin fire teams. Yeah, he's not required.
You can make a Harris with a Shaolin and 2 wildcards.
Okay.
The monks just aren't regular. So the exact wording on it is the members of this fire team are considered regular, while Liang Kai or Jing Kuo be... Wow, that is some Spanglish translation.
The Spanglish is terrible.
Okay. Hold up, I'll read it in the full Spanglish glory. The members of this fire team are considered regular, meanwhile Liang Kai or Jing Kuo be part of the fire team. And that works completely differently to the way the Taskmaster and the Hungry one does, where if the guy leading it dies, they stop being a part of the fire team. The link no longer
exists. Yeah.
Yeah, because I got in a huge, long-ass discussion with Val because I was just wrong about how it worked, because I assumed it would work the same, but it doesn't.
Yeah, but with the Fire Team Master, they've already got that written into it as, you could have Fire Team Master, but then you could have, contingencies on that. And that's already built into the skill.
Yep.
So
it's good.
It does mean that my hope of having fire team bonus skills is basically gone. But I'm equally happy to see that they're likely to be completely removing special rules from the fire team chart. And I think that is probably the cleaner way to do it.
That's a good thing.
I hope they use that opportunity to fix the whole interaction of I generate my orders as regular and break the fire team, and then they impetuous, so I get my cake and eat it too.
True.
That was such a weird. That discussion was like one of the longest.
It was stupid because the impetuous and auto generation happened during the same sequence part of the game.
But you get to dictate how that sequence plays out.
Yeah, you get to interpret yourself in what order they happen.
Yeah.
So it'd be good if they fixed that.
Anyway,
I'm sure they have.
If you cannot tell, we are fucking excited about N5.
Oh, yeah.
We have waited so fucking long.
Yes.
I believe the plan to share it with you guys is that we're essentially going to, I think, record like a couple of episodes next week, hopefully, right?
Back to back, it seems like.
Yeah, at least like 2 episodes, I think, are going to be recorded next week.
We've got one on Tuesday.
Yeah.
We probably might have one on Wednesday, depending on... I'm not sure whoever is available to do Tuesday and Wednesday. And there will definitely be one Sunday.
Yeah, so we're going to smash through it. Watch any of the places where we post as well, like Facebook, Reddit as well, where we started posting, Discord. I believe we're going to start putting out the call for questions from new players for a future episode as well. So if just watch the places where we post. If you are a new player who's getting into the game of Infinity, we have content for you that is going to be in the N5 pipeline to hopefully like either introduce you smoothly to N5 or really ease your transition from N4 to N5 if you are one of the unlucky players who has jumped in the last like 2 months of N4.
Well, even if you played the first year of N4 and that's how you learnt the game and you've kind of dibble-dabbled, you haven't really gone in, we can very easily get you transitioned from N4 to N5.
Absolutely. Yeah. But until next time, so for 2 days most likely, I've been Jordan.
I've been Nick.
And I've been Tristan.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Good night.